Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football, taking a look at a Philadelphia Eagles 2023 NFL mock draft. Again, this is a very fun team to take a look at. You won't find as many complete rosters, and then you couple that with 2 first-round picks. Again, some positions you want to address as a lot of guys are hitting the free agency market, but this is a complete team with 2 first-round picks and a bona fide stud at quarterback with Jalen Hurts. And at the end of the day, hand up, I was wrong about Jalen Hurts. I thought he was kind of just a product of the system that what they were doing in Philly. He's much more than that. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I finally have come around to that. And now let's start building a franchise that can compete for a Super Bowl for multiple years to come. Before we do, though, I just want to say thank you to you guys. These are my favorite videos to do because I kind of specialize in evaluating these prospects as they head into the NFL drafts, but then talking to all the NFL team fans and talking about positions of need, position fits. It's been a blast. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Almost 4,200 subscribers. That's truly awesome. So if you guys want to help out, support the channel, that would mean a lot. Let's get into this draft. Picking top 10. So that number 10 overall pick, there's a lot of different ways Philadelphia could go. I think edge position, I think Devon Witherspoon is a really nice pick. I'm going to tell you what I would do if I'm Howie Roseman. And Howie Roseman is a heck of a lot smarter than me. I trust what he would do. But when I look at this draft class, I think there are so many good boundary cornerbacks that you can get later on in this draft. You take a look at the cornerback class. Devon Witherspoon at 10 would be a phenomenal pick. I wouldn't argue that. But I think Joey Porter Jr., Christian Gonzalez, who must have already went 8 to the Falcons, very good prospects. But even when you get into day 2, Emmanuel Forbes is a guy I love. Eli Ricks is a guy I really like. Keely Ringo, Cam Smith as well. Julius Brents from Kansas State's a guy that's really high on my board here at 172. I think you can address the boundary cornerback position with a good, lengthy cornerback a little bit later. What you can't really address is someone like Brian Branch. Brian Branch is kind of an enigma in this class, but he's a top 10 football player in this class. He's done it all for Alabama, primarily working in the slot as kind of a box safety nickel cornerback, but really can do it all. You see 569 snaps from the slot, 136 from that deep safety position. But one of the things that he allows you to do is he lets you do so much on a defense, right? Every team in the NFL wants to get fast in speed and coverage ability, I should say, on the defense while also being able to hold up and stop the run game. Brian Branch is a perfect guy who can do that. He has an elite coverage ability, but he's also so good stopping the run inside the box as well. Those guys are rare, especially in this draft class. But when you look at the cornerback class, I think you can address that position kind of later on. Because, again, Devon Witherspoon, Christian Gonzalez, Joey Porter Jr., 1A, 1B, 1C, but they're all really solid. And I think there's a good chance that some good cornerbacks are going to be available later in day 2 or with that pick 30th overall. But I'm going to go get one of the best prospects in this class, and that is Brian Branch from Alabama. He's been one of my most fun film studies to watch as we roll into 2023. Pick 30, I think there's a couple different positions you could go. If you're looking on the interior offensive line, like Jason Kelce might not be playing. I love Cam Jurgens. I think he's a perfect replacement for Jason Kelce. I'm not stressing too much about that center position. A guy like Anton Harrison would be a nice add as well. You could go a lot of different ways. When I'm looking at, let's take a look at this cornerback class because, again, there's a lot of good cornerbacks that I'd be very comfortable taking. Emmanuel Forbes, Eli Ricks, probably the 2 guys that I would have my eyes on the most. Emmanuel Forbes, elite ball skills. I mean, he's played 3 seasons at Mississippi State, and quick math here, 5 interceptions as a true freshman, 3 in 2021, and then 6 in 2020. You want to see him put on a little bit of weight. You see that frame, 180 pounds. I'm interested to see what he weighs in at and see that long speed, but he has all the traits of being a very, very good cornerback. And then Eli Ricks, very similar story, has a little bit more length. I'm worried about that long speed. A former 5-star coming out of high school, transfers to Alabama, gets suspended. But when he started to play football for Alabama, he was a walking seatbelt. I personally like Eli Ricks a little bit more, and I know PFF will not love this pick at 30, but Eli Ricks is a really, really good corner that I think is worthy of a first-round pick if you make sure some of those off-the-field concerns are squared away. Heading on to pick we got pick 62 coming up. I think this is probably where you address the interior offensive line. A guy like John Michael Schmitz, I really wouldn't have hated at pick 30 as well. Kind of eating your vegetables, getting a really good football player. I want to take a look at this edge position too, because this is kind of where I see the sweet spot of this edge room. Karl Brooks. You talk about versatility. We're probably going to get Karl Brooks here. You talk about versatility with Karl Brooks. He has it in bunches. He played at Bowling Green, so you're a little bit concerned, but his film is dominant. And you take a look. You see PFF loved him in grading. The pass rush win rate, extraordinary, 23.8%. He has extremely powerful hands. The concern you have with him, he's 6'4", 300 pounds, and he played primarily, you look at where he lined up, played primarily outside of tackles or over tackles, so kind of that 5 technique playing on the edge. He was really good there. But then at the Senior Bowl, they stick him inside because that's probably where he's playing in the NFL, and he was also extremely good there. But the ability to rush the passer and have that explosiveness and bend as a 6'4", 300-pound dude is something that doesn't come along very much. I would love Karl Brooks here. He's a top 50 prospect on my board. And again, if he's falling to 62, I would be jumping all over that if I'm Philadelphia. And again, what you're noticing is you're just getting really, really good players on primarily addressing the defensive side of the ball now. And you're probably wanting to address the offensive line at some point. Maybe at pick 94 we can. I'm going to look for a guy like Tank Dell's really interesting, man. You talk about undersized wide receivers like Devontae Smith was talked about. He's a guy that's 5'10", 165 pounds. I mean, this dude is a beanpole, but he creates separation like no other in this class. And very similar to Devontae Smith. At that point, I don't care how much he weighs. I know he's a good football player. You saw it at Houston, goes down to the Senior Bowl. He dominates there too. Another guy I'd be taking a look at, though, because you got pick 94 and then you're not picking for till 221. Let's take a look and see if Andrew Voorhees is still on the board here. And he is. He's a perfect match for what Philadelphia wants to do. Really, really powerful dude, especially in those zone blocking schemes. Has played both guard and tackle, so you have a little versatility there. PFF doesn't like him as much as I do. He's probably a top 75 guy on my board. What you love about him is the power. The question mark is the balance. He's playing on the ground a lot, but in terms of moving people, being athletic, working up to linebackers like Philadelphia wants to do, Andrew Voorhees, I think, is the pick here on that interior offensive line. And again, in a pinch, he can also play tackle too. He's a very, very good athlete. Now, you got a lot of picks going until 221 and 250. I don't think you needed a wide receiver. Like, I feel good about A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Maybe a third one, Tank Dell, kind of would have been an interesting option. Howie Roseman has showed that he doesn't really care about weights of wide receivers because Devontae Smith was a pick for him as well. I don't love this wide receiver class, quite frankly. Michael Wilson would have been a nice option too if you're looking at potential wide receivers. And maybe we'll take a look at a sleeper wide receiver here as well with pick 221 or 250. We could have sped this up a little bit too. All right, 221, Trey Dean, right? Trey Dean's been one of my favorite guys to pick in these mock drafts. He's one of the guys that PFF doesn't value as much as I do. Let's take a look at the wide receiver position, see if Justin Shorter, he's been a guy that I'm really, really high on. He hasn't graded out extremely well, but he's a guy who is a former 5-star product coming into Penn State. He transfers to Florida, and the numbers aren't lighting the world on fire. 550 yards, 566, 577 yards in 2022. He hasn't had that good a quarterback play. I mean, Emory Jones in 2021 was not getting it done. And Anthony Richardson, for as talented as he is, was not a very consistent quarterback and was missing Justin Shorter a lot. But what you can't teach is 6'4", 225 pounds, and he's probably going to run extremely fast at the combine. I'm not saying he's like an A.J. Brown type athlete, but I think he's pretty damn close, and he's struggled with injuries. He's struggled with some drops in the past, but he's a guy that if you want to take it in round 7, bet on some traits, Justin Shorter would be that guy to bet on because you can't teach that size and that speed. He's a guy that I really like. I think I would be surprised if he makes it to round 7 just because of those traits. And a lot of those NFL teams are going to gravitate towards that high ceiling potential. Trey Dean's still on the board. At this point, Philadelphia just begging me to pick him. I want to take a look at a couple other guys that I have pretty high on my board. Alex Forsythe's a really, really good center. I want to look at this tackle position real quick. And then potentially a running back too. I don't love the idea of signing Miles Sanders back. I should frame that as Philly kind of misses out on that sweet spot for the running backs in this draft class. But this running back group is really, really deep. And if you're looking for a running back to kind of just take off where Miles Sanders left off, There's a lot of those guys who I think are extremely talented that will be going in round 3 and round 4. So if Philly can somehow get a pick somewhere in that range and grab one of those running backs, I think that would make a lot of sense. All right, pick 250 though. Let's get a guy that we just like a lot. It probably is Trey Dean. I mean, Trey Dean's a guy, 6'3", 207 pounds. Another dude kind of like Brian Branch, who's really, really good coming inside the box as well. Mo Ibrahim, again, he's a workhorse. The concern with him is he's awesome running back. I don't think he has the juice to be more of an explosive running back, and I don't know how well he fits that scheme in Philly. And he's also taken a lot of carries. He's an older product, but he's a guy that was really, really good in college. Man, I think we're just going to have to go. AJ Finley's another guy high on my board. Lou Nichols, Braden Willis. There's still some good prospects on the board here. Iko Leota. Did we get Iko Leota? I really like. He didn't play much in 2022, only 5 games, but man, was he good. He was really good in 2021 as well. I'm going to go get Mo Ibrahim and just add some depth to that running back room. Mo Ibrahim runs, and he's extremely experienced, and that's a good and bad thing. He has a lot of tread on his tires, right? 320 carries here, 220 carries in 2020, missed the whole season in 2021, but he's really good after contact, has very good contact balance. And if you're looking at a guy who just you trust giving the rock to 15, 20 times a game, I think Mo Ibrahim could be that guy. Again, not the juice that some of the other running backs have in terms of the explosive playmaking ability, but he's a solid running back that if you need to come in and take carries for your football team, he's going to be able to do that at a high level. Take a look at how PFF graded out the draft. We get 2 Fs. Eli Ricks, he's really good, and if you feel good about Eli Ricks off the field, I think he's one of the best and most talented cornerbacks in this class. Carl Burks is another guy that I absolutely love. Favorite pick of the draft, probably Bryant. You go Bama back to back. Betting on Alabama hasn't been a bad recipe for a lot of NFL GMs. I would be doing that too. Again, I'm trusting Howie Roseman and his evaluation of these cornerbacks. But Eli Ricks is a guy that I have really, really liked. When he's played, he's been dominant. And then keep an eye on Justin Shorter, because you kind of have such a big gap after you pick in round 3. If you're looking for a sleeper playmaker, Justin Shorter could be that dude. Again, wanted to keep this one short for you guys, but I appreciate the support you guys have shown. So again, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate y'all, and we'll talk to you guys later.